You already know what it is when you hear that music. That means we have something special for everybody out there listening. First of all, thank you guys for checking us out on Facebook Live as well as YouTube and Periscope. This is Willie Epteen Jr. Kick the Narrative Part 6, proudly presented by the BGC Sports Network. And when I tell you guys out there that are watching and that are listening, and this will be available for podcasts as well, when I tell you that you have to surround yourself with people that are on the same mission as you, that is exactly what we have done here at the network. And when I tell you we have an esteemed panel of panelists, and yes, that is from the Department of Redundancy Department. I mean just that, because we're going to kick the narrative. We got you guys for 59 more minutes, and we're going to talk about the things that are going on in the world. So let me bring up first. He is the CEO and also of Empower Movements or Empower Moments. He is also an esteemed author in the blink of an eye, CEO of Empower Media and host of Empowering Moments, Dr. Reverend Timothy Hughes. Rev T, what's going on, sir?
Hey, what's up? All right. How you doing, Brother Epton?
Oh, man, everything is wonderful. Glad to see you on. Thank you for joining the show. And
thanks for inviting me.
Yes, sir. I hope all is well with you and your family. All right, we're going to continue on with the admonishment of all the panelists. Next up, you can watch and hear her on WOVU 95.9 in Cleveland. She is the First Lady of Sports of Cleveland, Ohio. She is the host of Her in the Huddle Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday on that network. That is at 5 o'clock Eastern time, 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock Eastern time. No, 6 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Central. And I have the privilege of sharing that duty with her on Tuesday. Who am I talking about? I am talking about none other than my sissy. And that is Miss Rachel Hill. Rachel, what's going on, sis?
Hi, Willie. How are you?
I'm good. I know you're busy out there in Cleveland as guys are looking to go up 3 games to love on the Kansas City Royals, who are struggling. Walk-off home run last night. Mackenzie Phillips or Mackenzie. What's Mackenzie's last name?
Tristan McKenzie.
Sticks. He did his thing last night. So appreciate you joining the show.
Oh, no problem.
We're gonna continue this on, man, because next up is John Motley, J Mott. He is a sports agent, director of marketing for Team Up Sports, and he is the senior vice president of marketing for the Shake Back Media Group, as well as the Shake Back OT podcast. Inside contributor John Motley. John, what's up, man?
How y'all doing today? I'm just celebrating the Frisco Fighter win last night.
Yeah, there you have it. And I see we actually had our fourth guest, Coach DJ Davis. He somehow dropped out. So when he comes back on, we will introduce him as well, and he can just jump right in. So here we go. How y'all doing? Y'all doing all right on this Saturday?
Good.
Doing good.
Well, as I said, kick the narrative is just that. I mean, we do implement a little bit of sports because that is what we are, the BGC Sports Network, the Shake Back Media Group, so forth and so on. I see Coach Davis is there, so we're going to go ahead and bring him in. He is the Executive Director of Edu Empowerment Services, LLC, and the Executive Director of JRTP Incorporated, former middle linebacker of the ULM Warhawks, as well as the 1994 West Monroe Rebels team that won a championship. Or actually, that's the last team. That team was the last team that my school beat way back in '94. And we talking about, of course, Coach DJ Davis. Coach, what's going on, man?
I figured you was gonna go there, so I was ready for it.
Yeah. We had to get that in. So I'm glad you were able to get your connection straight, man. Again, as I was just telling the rest of the panelists, thank you so much, man, for taking time out of your schedule to do this. It's really, really appreciated. And we got some things to tackle because this is more than just sports. And
yes, sir.
Here we are. You guys have the topics. I wanted to start off with a little bit of a different deal though, because something happened on Friday. The first African American contestant to win the National Spelling Bee. Her name, of course, is Zaya Avant-Garde, 14 years old, out of the NO. And she ain't just a spelling nerd, y'all. She is a basketball savant, and she has designs on not only just going to Harvard, but she wants to be in the NBA. I didn't say the WNBA. I said the NBA. Rev T, what does this do for your heart seeing this young lady so accomplished at such an early age?
Hey, in this political social context that we are presently in at this time, it has blessed my heart tremendously to see this young lady win the spelling bee, and not only win the spelling bee, but to also understand that she has 3 Guinness World Records that she's broken as well. And as you stated, with her education, where she's got a plan at 14. That just is so inspiring to see that, especially with my history and passion for working with young people. Man, it does my heart real well to see that. It really does.
Yeah, and actually, everyone on this panel, to include who I forgot to mention, to the dopest engineer in the game, Big Day. What's going on? All right, so that's just that. Rachel, as a person that is the same shade of color as this young lady, talk about it from your perspective on what she did and what it means to you and what it means for people like yourself for the future.
Absolutely. As a woman of color myself, it's that breaking the barrier. Oftentimes people get mad when you say the first African American to do this, but she truly was the first Black person to win the spelling bee. And you think about how long it's been going on for and how many contestants they had. And she's been the first person of African descent to win it. So it is a phenomenal thing. It's a wonderful thing. She's a woman, which, I love. I'm all about girl power. And also I got a chance to check out a couple clips. So not only is she a stud when it comes to spelling, but she might be able to take y'all on in some one-on-ones. I don't know, possibly, maybe.
I'm pretty sure.
I know y'all think y'all still got it, but she might be able to shake and bake y'all. So, but I think it was a win for everyone. I think, it's historical, it's monumental. And, she can also, have other little Black children see that she won and know that they can win that spelling bee too. So it's very inspirational as well. So it's an amazing story.
Well, just to kind of come back or piggyback on what you said about being able to take us, the only person that's on this the only person on this panel that has played football or college basketball, for that matter, but for football, really, on one of the highest levels that you can. I'm going to ask Coach Davis to chime in on that part of it.
Well, I can tell you right now, at the rate that I'm going, even though I try to stay physically active, I've seen some of those clips too, Rachel, and she got it going on. So I can guarantee you, I know for sure she can get me. So I can't speak for everybody, but I'm gonna go ahead and put my name in the hat. There's someone who definitely could not hold her one-on-one.
Feeling is mutual.
Me either, guys. I'm included in that as well. So.
Yeah, let's speak around the horn with John. I mean, John John might be looking like, yo, y'all are saying that she can't take y'all, but it might be a different story with me, John. Give it to him. You're on mute. You're muted. He can't hear me. You're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you.
Yeah.
There he is.
As far as, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm big into Jordans, but that's about the best thing that I could do. As far as like, I'm gonna look good out there. I may look like $1 million, but I got a $2 game. So she'll take me like, so I ain't gonna embarrass myself. But as far as being a Stella B champion, I'm gonna tell you, that right there. I even had her profile up on my picture on Facebook, so that'll let you know where I stand on her, and that's just a tremendous accomplishment. And it's across the board, whether it's an athlete or just a human being, like to be able to shine on the biggest stage like she did speaks volumes for her and who she is as a person. And like Rachel said earlier, as far as being able to follow someone like that, I can do that.
Yeah. And you know what's the great thing about this before we move on to the actual topics that I sent to y'all? What's great about that is that if we can remove our sense of pride, not sense of pride as in, hey, I'm proud of my work, but I'm talking about pride that would actually be the thing that makes that happens before we fall. We can understand that it doesn't matter if you're 14 or if you're 114. We can learn from somebody of no matter what age they are, no matter what gender they are, no matter what shade of color they are. We can all learn from that when we lay our pride aside and have our hearts open. All right, thank you guys for that startling,
yes, sir,
startling commentary. We're gonna move on and talk about the rest of the topics we have. I got to make sure that I keep you guys on point, or that you guys keep me on point, because we got 4 people on here besides myself that can go. I can already tell. With Coach, he's a coach, so I already know he can go. So y'all got to make sure y'all keep me on point, man. All right, so let's move on to the next subject. I have it here as the pandemic, and I have prophesied, as well as my pastor have prophesied, that the pandemic is behind us. By faith, that the pandemic is behind us. But the Delta variant has pretty much people saying, not so fast, my friend. Coach DJ, I mean, you're in the schools.
Yes, sir.
And you're in Louisiana. Your thoughts about what's transpired with the pandemic, in particular with the CDC has just recently said that people over the age of 65 really don't need to be gathering indoors anymore.
Well, based off the things that I've been able to witness with my own eyes, Willie, over the past 6 to 8 months, I'm gonna use a term that I've seen all over social media. We outside, bro. We outside. So that prophecy that you guys have put in place, I think it has come to pass, because regardless of the CDC, the LBC, NBC, ABC, these people are outside. So I know they got that different strain has caused some concern, but you got to realize we as a culture, we as a community, we as a world have been locked in and tied up so long that I think we're right now at a point collectively that we're willing to take that risk if such a concern is true to stance. But man, we outside. So, and I think, we're going to talk about the Olympics and its impact, the pandemic or the things that's going on. I don't see the Olympics being any different than a bunch of these trail rides that I see. I don't know. I don't know who on here. I know J-Mop from Louisiana. Will, I know you're originally from this area, but I'm seeing 8, 9, 1,000 people at a trail ride. So
what's a trail ride?
Enlighten her, because I don't know what it is.
Well, a trail ride is pretty much you get a big property, like 8, 9, 15, 20 acres of land. And you basically invite people they pay to come into this property, and you have musical guests, you have contests, you have different. It's more like a country where you horseback riding, 4-wheeler riding, and you have different races on this property. But you invite people to pay to come in. They barbecue. You have 4 or 5 blues singers come in, or some different artists come in. So I'm seeing, now I haven't personally been to one, but I've witnessed and seen thousands of people at these particular events. So when we're talking about the pandemic and the Delta, it could be the Delta strain. It could be the omegas. It could be the alphas. It could be the AKA strain. we outside.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
We outside. So that's my take on the F10. I think we outside forever.
Okay, John. Look, now, okay, Rachel, you have been enlightened on, or I can say we both have been enlightened on what a is, because I graduated from high school in Louisiana, but I grew up the first part of my life in the Bay Area, and I never been in one of those, and I never heard of it until you mentioned it just now, Coach John. So you're right there in Louisiana, right there in the Monroe area, with Coach. Talk about some of the things that you've seen with the pandemic and how things are running around there in the 318.
Well, the one thing that I've experienced like DJ is that things are opening up a lot more. And I can go back to like last week. I was actually in, Frisco, Texas, and got the opportunity to see where, in Texas, things are wide open right now. And as far as like, you could actually be on the field and interview players, actually be in contact, and that's inside. And so, of course, being vaccinated and making sure you take the precautionary measures is important, no matter where you're at. And I think that's what we have to do is just educate ourselves, but we can't live in fear. And I think that's the main thing that, I just try to educate myself. And I've seen, like Coach DJ said, firsthand how things can, progress. And look, the NFL, which is, they're wide open right now. They're talking about all stadiums coming forward for this fall is going to be full capacity. So,
yep.
All right, Ref T, we're going to bring you in on this and give your thought from a spiritual perspective in terms of the pandemic and what Jay said about, not living in fear.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say, it causes me to look at it reflectively too, in regard to what has transpired with those. I would definitely lift up those persons who have lost their lives, due to the pandemic to this point. The families that are still grieving, dealing with the loss. I personally have had family members that have died of COVID. And I take it very seriously. For me personally, I mean, just for my own personal health issues. Okay, so I think there's a need to be. I kind of take a different viewpoint in regard to the fear context as it relates to this COVID-19. I think it is wise for us to be aware of what is happening, in regard to COVID with this new variant, being educated to know
Right.
what's going on and to be prepared for what's coming too. Just like for me, when I go out, I make sure I still wear my mask. If I'm going into a store, going to inside a location, I'm wearing my mask. I see fewer people wearing their masks, and the reason I wear my mask is because here in Texas, there's a rise in the variant.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that understanding and the wisdom that I feel that God has given me, I'm going to protect myself with knowing the information that's out there by people who have gone to school, gotten educated, gone to college, gotten their PhDs, gotten their master's degrees, and all that, and are reporting to us saying what we need to do. And so that's how I operate in the spirit, if you will, to be able to make sure that I'm protected. My wife is protected. My children are protected. My family, we're all been vaccinated. I'm a strong component of that. That we all need to be vaccinated. This is not a political issue. This is a human issue that is affecting human beings across the entire world, not just the United States, not just Texas, not just Louisiana, not just Detroit or Michigan. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I think we need to be wise and be aware of all the information and give respect to those who have gone to school, who are experts in what we're dealing with.
Yeah, and that is a perfectly way to end it by saying just that, because I believe the same thing in the fact that we don't have to live in fear, but we don't have to live recklessly either. And that's the
Right.
key. That's the key to that. There's nothing wrong with being cautious, but there's everything wrong with being reckless. All right, and as of Friday, I think it was Thursday or Friday, the report came out that over 4 million people have died around the world because of COVID-19. So, yeah, it's tough to say, or it's tough to see with our natural eyes to say that it's over, but we know there's a name that's above every name. So, and it has has had an effect on the Olympics, because the Olympics came out, the Olympics committee came out of Tokyo came out and said on Thursday that or one day last week, that there will be no fan participation at any of the events because of the soaring cases in Japan.
Mm.
That's something that we possibly fear, not living in the spirit of fear, but out of fear of going back to the way that it was before the pandemic, or when the pandemic first started. Is there any fear that we could see that variant land over here again? Go ahead, Rev.
Hey, again, I'm going to the book of Proverbs, one of my favorite books in the Bible. Wisdom. I don't equate this to fear. I equate it to wisdom and thinking and doing wisely, making wise decisions for you and your family. Now, when I think about what happened in Japan, I'm thinking what made me think was okay. Why is that? Were they all vaccinated before? And then why is it on the rise again? That's what I question. And if it's a
Yeah,
state of an emergency, which they say it is, that's reason enough to me question, why do you even want to have the Olympics if there is a state of emergency? The two don't connect to me. I know it's about money. I mean, I'm not stupid to that point, But if it's that serious, and you're saying for Japan, you need to have a state of emergency, but you're still going to go ahead with the Olympics, but we can't have any spectators, so you're going to put the athletes in jeopardy.
yeah,
So that's how I think. I'm just saying,
yeah.
I'm not out of fear, again, out of wisdom,
Right,
rationalizing the situation.
right. Oh, I was just about to ask Coach a question, and he lost connection again. So we'll go to Rachel. Rachel is the person that's in the media, like you or like myself and John are, with the variant on the rise over there. And if you had an assignment as part of the media to roll over to Tokyo and cover this thing, where would your mind and heart be if you were presented with that choice or that question?
If I was presented with that question, I would go cover it with all precautions. I am fully vaccinated, and even if there was booster shots available, I would take the booster shots. I think Rev T makes a great point though about the athletes and their safety and them being able to be there. I just look at it that Tokyo has already pushed this back an additional year, and they've already put so much money. I mean, it's billions upon billions to build these facilities and have the Olympics, and it's costing them more money to have it, and they're going to lose money than they will be making off of this. So their economy could have some struggles for a while off of this, but I think that it's just too close to everything to close down now, because you got to think about the athletes who are on their way and their teams and their people. I just think logistically it's probably too late to go ahead and put the kibosh on it. But if this was an assignment, it could be a once in a lifetime opportunity, dream assignment. Obviously it wouldn't be in the conditions that one would want them to be in, but I would take my mask. I mean, they're used to wearing masks over there. They've been doing this for a long time, especially China. So I think that taking all those precautions, I would take that opportunity of a lifetime. But that's just me.
Yeah. Coach, I wanted to ask, you had your I think you dropped out there for a second because
Yeah.
Rail was talking about it from a spiritual standpoint. Rachel just talked about it from a person that covers, she's in the media like I am and like John is. But you being a coach in terms of having to get players prepared for whatever next level that is,
right?
What would be your thought in terms of the athletes and the coaches being in the middle of a situation in Japan where the variant is what it is, without the fans being there, but with you and your team or whatever have to be out there to perform?
I would have to agree, especially with Rev T in terms of with the wisdom side of it and understanding. I mean, and from a coaching perspective, you look at you strategize, you game plan week in and week out, and so you have to go into these particular situations in that same mindset. Let's look at as many possibilities as possible. Not saying that you'll be able to. I mean, it's just like an offensive game plan. Look, here's what we plan on running, but just in case we can't run these, let's look at these plays. What about if this situation? And so strategically, you want to go in. I know how it is to be in a situation where you've worked hard for 4 or 5 years, and so if they give me a 50% opportunity to be able to showcase this God-given talent that I have, and I've been working for 4 or 5 years to get to that point. Well, I'm going to showcase it, whether it's one person in the audience or 100,000 people in the audience. I want to showcase this God-given talent. And so I think from a coaching perspective and just being in a team situation, as long as we've looked at all the variants and looked at all the possibilities of what possibly could happen and how we can protect ourselves, whether it be masks, whether it be, all the stuff that they talk to us about, hand sanitizers, masks, et cetera, et cetera. As long as there's a leader, a coach, or a leader of that team, I can look at all of those things and feel good about my checklist. Then I wouldn't see an issue as go ahead and going into Japan to go ahead and perform if they're telling us that we can. I know, like I said, I've been there. I've been there where we worked hard and had game prep and practice, and then it rained the day of the game, and then the officials at the school said at the game council, and then I'm just as disappointed as the players, because we felt like this was a good week. We worked hard, we practiced hard. This a chance we could beat this team this year. Oh well, we're gonna cancel that game. So I've been there. I understand the frustrations and the situations, but at the same time, you got to be able to look at all your variables.
Very good point, John. I'm gonna round it out with you because we got the spiritual perspective, we got the media perspective, we got the preparing of the coach or preparing of the players or the participants perspective. So now we're gonna come to you as an agent who represents some of these people, or maybe even all of them. Let's just say we're going to say all of them so we can get your pockets fattened. So if you are the agent of these participants, what are you telling your clients?
Well, first off, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do all the research that I can do. As far as because as a leader, which that's the way I look at myself as a leader, and it's of course I don't have a doctorate, but I do have some education. So what I would do at that point, if it became where it was unsafe and that could be proven, but at a certain point, we pay taxes, we have leadership. These people should be held accountable to do their jobs.
Right.
And that's all. If they just do what they're supposed to do, the CDC or whoever it is that makes these determinations, they just have to look at it because, I'll be honest with you. If it's like, say for instance, like I mentioned, going to a football game right now, Frisco, as long as we do the parameters, the protocol, the way it's been instructed by the CDC, not because of somebody's personal views, but because of the information at hand, that's leadership. And that's what I guess I focus on. And I'm only as good as the information that's provided me. Yeah. So, and then of course I would explain that to my athletes as well.
Yeah, and let me finish it up with this because I think this is important to realize this as well. all of the precautions, all of the safety measures, everything that's been put in place, we're already used to.
Exactly.
We've been doing it for over a year and a half now.
Sure.
So the only thing that you can do, or I'm sorry, I'm not going to say the only thing, the best thing that we can do if we're over there is to continue to do what we've been doing.
Yes, sir.
That's it. So I think it's going to be depending on what your cup of tea is in terms of the Olympic Games. I mean, I believe that the ratings may take a hit because of just it being what it is. Hopefully not, but maybe it won't. So, all right, so let's go ahead and move on because we are halfway through the show and we've only gotten through really 2 topics. So the next thing I want to address is #Neil, and that is the name, likeness, and image of amateur athletes being able to profit from just that. After the Supreme Court passed the motion, essentially saying NCAA, you had a chance to do it, you didn't do it, but now we're going to make you do it. And we're not going to really get into the sports side of it as much, but we are going to talk about the social and economic effect that it will have on college student athletes, and in particular from those people that are from impoverished type of communities. As the only person on the panel that has played major college football, Coach DJ, what was your thoughts, man? What was your feeling? What was your response, your reaction when you first heard that these student athletes can get paid off their NIL?
It was a little bit of a it was bittersweet, I guess I would say, because when I first just quickly tell you about my experience. When I first got to college, I wasn't a scholarship athlete. I was a walk-on athlete, and so my first year in athletics, I was not privy to a lot of the benefits that came along with being a scholarship athlete. But fortunately, I was in a position to earn a scholarship, and so once I was in that position, then I noticed where, yeah, we got a lot of these perks on this side, but there was also some things that we were limited to do because of the fact that we were on scholarship. We were only able to work during the summer. So you can pick your little summer gig up, or, sometime between, what we call it winter break, between December the 7th and January the 15th. If you found a little hustle or something in between then, you could work during those times, but you were not allowed to receive any compensation from anybody. Well, obviously your mom and, family members, but you were not in a position to do any of that. So there were a lot of times, even though we were on scholarship, we had our meals taken care of, there was still that area, that gray area of like, man, you know what, I really could use an extra $300. I really could use an extra whatever, the $500 or whatever it may be. And so to see now over all these years that they finally come to an understanding that, hey, we really, it's almost low key. Like my grandma would always, say it's a racket. We really discovered that the NCAA is really pimping because you think about even just from ticket sales, home games. Because I was from the area, it was easy for me to have 15, 20 people come to the game just strictly because they was coming to see me. I ain't talking about just fans. I'm talking about, and so imagine at every school where you have these kids that are, because of who they are, people are supporting these programs. Okay, not because of the program, because even back then we were bad at winning, but we still had people coming because of who the athletes were, who the young people were. NCAA, you go back to NCAA football. Many of us were on, those games. Like literally, I can go back, and I was telling my wife about it. I can go back to that 90, 95, 96 game, the Nintendo games, and pull in Northeast Louisiana roster up. We're on there. DJ Davis, number 16. Marty Booker, number whatever, and they selling these games, and we're on there.
Right.
Yeah.
So to be at this particular point right now, to where these young people do have the ability to say, hey, I can make up $300 or $400 just showing up on a commercial. Most of you, I don't know, Rev, Rachel, you might not be familiar, but in this area, Monroe, Louisiana, Johnny's Pizza is probably one of the biggest pizza franchises.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest pizza franchises in the area. The owner of Johnny's Pizza, he's long passed away, was an alumni of Northeast Louisiana University, or ULM, what it is now. Avid supporter, put millions of dollars into the school. I guarantee you, if this NIL was in place back when we was coming through, many of us would have had many opportunities to be endorsed Johnny's Pizza. We could have been on commercials, maybe eating a slice of pizza, and they could have paid us $200 for that. Guess what? That's better than nothing. So, but that's my take. It's bittersweet. It's bittersweet, guys, because I remember a lot of my teammates that struggle coming through that probably could have benefited for these benefits, but then now to finally see that these kids can enjoy that opportunity if it presents themselves to it. Because you got to realize, just because they done pass this legislature, everybody is not going to get a chance to get endorsed by somebody. It's going to be some of your upper echelon athletes, but still, even at the smaller schools like ULM, you may have a Johnny's Pizza in the area that be willing to pay this kid to be on a commercial, biting a slice of pizza, saying how great Johnny's Pizza is.
Well, that's a terrific story and such an eloquent way of putting it. I had some Johnny's Pizza over the weekend. If I was playing football,
you already know.
I was playing. If I was playing for ULM or anybody, and Johnny's Pizza would have offered me a chance to make a couple of dollars for eating the pizza, I would say, "Yo, don't even give me the pizza, or don't give me the money. Just give me the pizza."
We're gonna have to send Rachel some so she can get what you're talking about.
Yeah, because I'm like,
yeah. And you know what?
They do have take and bake now,
and they do ship too. From what I heard,
really?
Yeah.
So Rachel,
Rachel, let's come back to you because you played. Did y'all? Okay, y'all obviously didn't know this. So Rachel, you played field hockey in college, correct?
No, club lacrosse at Ohio State.
What was it again?
Club lacrosse at Ohio State.
Okay, so you had, she went to Ohio State University.
Ohio State University.
I'm a Michigan fan, so we all already got into it about that. Cornered by a Buckeye. Anyway, so Rachel, but you've coached in college too as well, right?
No, not in college. In high school, I won a state championship in 2014 with Shaker Heights Raiders field hockey team. Yeah.
Okay. So, as a coach that is preparing players, these young ladies or men for that matter, to get to the next level, does your idea of how to coach change in knowing that you could be presenting them or getting them ready to present themselves in a position to where they can actually make money?
Yeah, I think we also have to remember that different sports are different cultures as well. And my girls know that they would never be a professional field hockey or lacrosse player in their life. So it's very different. And the fortunate thing about these football and basketball programs is they fund the other programs so other athletes actually have a chance to play. So I think that they're more grateful for it to have that opportunity more than anything, because there isn't even a cost to get into those programs. But if it wasn't for football and basketball, these athletes wouldn't have the opportunity to play, because Ohio State, when I was there, they had 36 varsity sports, and they have to carry, just as many female sports as they do male sports due to Title IX. So there's a lot of things that go into that, but it's different culturally amongst all the sports, and my girls know that their opportunity is going to stop at a certain place. Now they can go on and coach and things like that, but the ability to play like in the NFL and NBA and Major League Baseball, that'll never happen. But I think, for them, it's just the opportunity to be able to have that opportunity to play is what they look for and seek.
The opportunity for the opportunity. John, you and I kind of
if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. John, you and I have kind of talked about this thing from an agency standpoint, because now you can really dig into a market that otherwise was not available. We're talking about high schoolers and their parents and putting them in position to where their parents may be in a socioeconomic downfall, or may not have the money to do whatever they can for their kid in college, in high school, let alone in college. And then you get this. So now there's a market, and I probably shouldn't be letting these trade secrets out, y'all, but I'm gonna keep it real. I'm like, whatever is for me is for me, and whoever is with me is gonna be for them too. So there's a market out there for agents in terms of getting with families and making sure that you are aligned with whatever vision that they have, and that everything is done with the utmost integrity. John, what do you say to that, man? The fact that's just something. I'm not even an agent, nor do I play one on TV, nor do I even aspire to be one. But I'm excited for somebody like you.
Well, for me, like, this is like coming from the background that I come from. You know, I come from a very, poor background. And I guess the easiest example that I can use to what motivates me is Dez Bryant. And what happened to him as he got ready
cowboy
in 2010. Remember, he got suspended, and this was when I really started studying the landscape of this. And because the gray area, it was so skewed, he ended up losing his last year eligibility, or he got kicked out of school. And now, he had to fight and claw, and just off his natural ability, made it to the NFL and was successful. But how much could had it been so much easier had these rules been in place back then? Because anybody who knows his background and who he is as a human being, where they come from. So that's the way I look at it, from the players that I aspire to represent or want to take care of, is by simply treating everybody the way I want to be treated, or treating them in that manner. And it's just the right thing is to be able to, if you're gonna use their likeness, you need to pay them.
No doubt. Guys, I mean, this is some good stuff. I gotta be respectful. Number one, of y'all's time, and then number two, the time of the network. So we really only have about 15 minutes left to go in the show. But I want to ask Rev T about it from the standpoint of him being in that position. Not saying that you guys aren't, but him being on a really in a different setting in terms of empowerment, and how spiritually something like this can lift up a community that is impoverished, and really just give them a neck up going forward. Rev, go ahead with that in about a couple of minutes.
Definitely. Well, I would say definitely theologically, the word I would use is hallelujah. Okay, because I think this is going to be a game changer for a lot of African American, minority, those that are in impoverished communities, to be able to sustain themselves while they're in college. Because even for those that are have been funded through college, through student loans or whatever, you still poor because you're a student in college for the most part. So for those that are really struggling and have an opportunity to go into the college setting and through athleticism, I think this is a wonderful opportunity for them to not only be a blessing to themselves, but be a blessing to their mamas, to their daddies, to their brothers, to their sisters, to their cousins, to their community. And it's a leg up also for their brothers and sisters that are coming up behind them as well, when that money is being used effectively.
Mamas,
I mean, I think this is a win-win situation all the way around, because we know too many stories. I'm sure, as Coach DJ was saying, in regard to those students that were, hungry, and yet they're on one of the most well-known football teams in the country, and they're making millions of dollars throughout the season and beyond. But yet, when they go home, they have nothing.
Yeah.
So
And
that, hey, hallelujah.
yeah. And I was trying to get a little something in there. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. But anyway, good stuff, man.
Who sang that song? Who sang that song?
Willie Nelson.
Okay, thank you, John.
Oh, my bad. Well, Rachel might be turning a little green because she be trying to rap on the show, and I have to tell her.
Why you gotta put my business out there, man?
Because I can. All right, so I want to round it off by saying this because I love everybody's points, and that's why. Look, this is the reason why we do this. This is the reason why the Shakeback Sports Show was created, rebranded again, and the alignment with the BGC Sports Network, the hearts, the feelings, the belief is all aligned together. But here's my thing about it and why I'm excited. Because we hear about the deficit in the wealth gap. The wealth gap between brothers and sisters that are the same shade of color as Rev, Rachel, and Coach, as is different from what that is of the same shade of color that our brothers and sisters that are of John's. And when you have the opportunity for these kids, if the parents not forcing them to do this or forcing them to do this, whatever it is, baseball, football, basketball, track, I don't care. Not forcing them into doing it, but them doing it on their own accord to be able to start putting yourself in a position, not your family necessarily, but yourself in a position at the age of 14 or 15. If you're that great of an athlete, when you get to college, you can make some money that's going to help change generations. And that's what I'm excited about it because of the possible closing of the wealth gap. All right, guys. I hate to do this, but we got 16 minutes left to go in the show. So this is one subject that I really want to get to. And if we get to former President Donald Trump, we'll get there. But if not, so be it. But I want to talk about this critical race theory situation that's seemingly being hung up in everywhere across the country. And I'm glad Coach DJ is here because he's, of course, in the education system on the high school level. And I want the people, man, to hear your heart as a person, as an educator, as a person that's in the community, and explain to them your thought on the importance or non-importance of the teaching of critical race theory. I know this is your thing, so I got to cut you down on the time part.
Well, I keep it brief because I know there's so many. I mean, we could take even just the 5 tenets of critical race theory. Each one of them could be its own 1-hour show. Okay, so we're not. So I'm definitely gonna keep it short. But one of the things that I really would like to happen or like to see, especially coming from an education standpoint. I took a class when I was getting my master's in education, and it was discussing multicultural studies. I think that's what it was called, if I remember correctly. And part of that course, 60% of that course spent a lot of time on how education over the last, say, 100 plus years have been so altered, and there's a lot of stuff that's missing from the textbooks and from some of the conversations that take place in classrooms, all the way down from we go all the way back down to the first grade, all the way up through collegiate studies. And so one of the things that I would like to be able to see is more emphasis on, quote unquote, the truth. Some people don't think it's the truth. Some people do, but it all, like I said, all depends on who's telling the story. Where's the storytelling perspective coming from? And I would like to be able to see that. I think that it is very important for our future generation to really know hey, this is really what happened. Yeah, it may not be comfortable, it may not be popular, it may sting. We may find out some things about our own people that we really didn't probably want to know about, but this is how it went down. Okay. These are some things that took place. Yes, tussle was real. Yes, you had some people who didn't look like us who found some airplanes and dropped bombs on some black people. Yes, Lake Lanier in Georgia used to be a prominent black town, but because some people didn't like the fact that they were prosperous, let's burn everything down and let's go ahead and put a bunch of water in that area because hey, guess what? We want a lake. So those are things that I didn't even know about. I have 3 degrees, and I consider myself somewhat studious. Those are some things that I wasn't even aware about as a black person, was not aware about that at all, and just was recently within the last 3 years able to really get in onto those studies. You mean so at 42 years old, that's when I find out about some of the most prominent history that affected my ancestors at 43, not at 14 or not at 18. So I would really like to be able to see that. And then I also would like to be able to see that, sometimes if like my grandma would always say, if you want something done right, do it yourself. Okay. We have to be able to now start realizing that in some cases, there are going to be some people who are not just going to allow certain things to happen the way we think they should happen. So why don't we just do it ourselves? Why don't we start putting ourselves in a position, and from the critical race theory standpoint, let us start teaching more about, and I hope I don't offend nobody on this call, but just think about it. Coming up in elementary and middle school, it was Martin Luther King, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman. It was the same 9 black people that we learned about every year. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't have a clue about the ladies that helped NASA until 2-3 years ago. So why don't we as a culture or a community start realizing that we can teach more about our history versus the same 6 or 7, and I'm not taking anything from them, but we know about them already. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, but that's just my take on it. I know we got more people that got insight, and I don't want to take the whole 16 and a half.
Look, he dropped the mic. He gone now. All right, Rachel, I saw you nodding your head, so go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with him. I forgot what the name of the movie was called. Hidden Figures. And so I agree with him. A lot of us don't know about these things, and they purposely do not teach them that. There's still a lot of people learning history from history books written by Daughters of Confederacy down in the South. So, there's a skewed sense of history where just the other day you had Fox News talking about the founding fathers were not slave owners. So like, what are you talking about? Just the continuous lies that continue to get told. And once they continue to get repeated, people tend to believe it. My thing about critical race theory is it's important, but it's not even taught, Coach Davis, until the college level, right? So you are not sitting up here having elementary school students, kindergartners learn about critical race theory. Nope. It's just another boogeyman. Anytime the word race or black is in something, it's something for people to try to hate. And, it's just another thing. It'll blow over, and then it'll be something else black people do or something they got to learn about black people, and they'll be mad about that. So to me, it's just propaganda, and people don't even understand it to talk bad about it. And it's a course that a lot of people ain't gonna take because they ain't gonna go to college, so they don't got to worry about it.
Well, strong take from my sissy from another Missy. And she look at her face, y'all. She ain't playing.
Z formation.
You gotta do the snap. Don't do the snap in the circle.
Hey, victory formation, okay? That's victory formation right there. We about to end this.
Yeah, for real. All right, Jay. As the only person on here that's a lighter shade than all of us, that I know that doesn't matter to you, and I appreciate that. It doesn't matter to me. I know it doesn't matter to Rachel, and I know it doesn't matter to Coach, and I know it doesn't matter to Rev T. And you have another really interesting and really the only perspective on this panel that can speak to this, because you are the shade that you are, but you went to a school that is predominantly the same shade as us at Wasserman High School. Speak on that, man, for the people, from your spot.
It's called being accepted in a brotherhood and a sisterhood. Okay. And when I say when coming from me, like and I get goosebumps. I graduated from Grambling State University, and I never tell people
Okay,
that.
John.
Yeah,
Okay.
and see, like, and the reason why I put it out there like that is because of the fact that, look, if I can embrace it, I think that every person, the shade of my color or any different shade, can embrace it.
Wow.
Amen.
Man.
Go
ahead, Rachel. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm just frustrated because I was just talking about somebody the other day. It's 400 years old and we still talking about this racism stuff. Like there's still racism and it's still such an issue. And it's 400 years later. The commitment to racism and continuing to enforce it is just all enduring. And racism is a team sport, but it's 400 years and we still we still almost in the same position as we was when we first came over here. I mean, did anybody just think about that every once in a while and just get frustrated with it and mad? Because I'm a little hot right now.
I do now.
I understand.
And just so you know, like, I think about it all the time.
Wait a minute. Go ahead, John. We're going to give you the final word on this part of it. Go ahead, John.
No, I think about it all the time because until somebody stands up that looks like me and says something that people don't want to hear, we can't even get to the table.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah.
And that's why we are here. Rev, you have the last word from.
All right. Well, this is a heavy one right here, dealing with this critical race theory. And first off, we are constantly being shaped. That it's called cultural conditioning. And one of the things that I've learned to do is watch the words that are thrown in front of us. Okay, because technically this is not about critical race theory. It's about American history. That's not. This has nothing to do with no critical race theory. This is This is American history. This is what we're talking about. I'll give you an example. I went to the last inauguration of Obama in Chicago, in D.C. There were students from all over the country there. And I'm walking down the street and I'm hearing a lot of white students saying, "Well, my parents told me don't bring anything with Obama's face on it. You better not step in this house with anything with Obama's face on it." And I'm just, these are young high school students getting this word from their parents on what not to bring in their house. The first African American president re-elected to the presidency. So what does that tell your child? So this is about American history. The critical race theory was a theory that came out of the legal academia world, in a legal among law students, discussed in a legal setting from a legal perspective. But the real issue was the 1619 project that blew people's mind, from what Nicole Hannah Jones put together. For real, is what the real issue is, because she's got study guides and all type of things that can be used in the school. So that's what the real problem is, and we are facing the issue with the browning of America and white privilege. That's what we're dealing with. And it is becoming a real battle. And I'm speaking prophetically. If we don't get to a point of being able to come together and do truth and reconciliation conversations across this country, I know, hey, we need to do that. We just need to do that, because my spirit is telling me, if we don't have a love correction that takes place in this country, we're heading down a very scary road.
Yeah. No doubt. 2 minutes left to go in the show, guys, and y'all all have had me nearly in tears at certain points of the show. I'm gonna round it out by saying this, and I'm gonna let everybody hear, or you guys can give all your. It'll be the shameless plug portion of the show. Critical race theory. The title of it in itself is already a direct contradiction as to what needs to take place. Because when you're talking about a theory, you're talking about something that may happen. But when you're talking about truth, you're talking about something that has happened. And that's the difference between the two. So if we don't want to address the truth, forget about the theory. If we don't want to address the truth, then things are not going to change. The Lord gave me a quote several years ago on the banks of at the shores or at the beach of Half Moon Bay, just south of California, San Francisco. And he said to me then, in order for us to thrive, in order for us to get where we want to be, we must learn how to thrive in the unfamiliar and be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that is what the race theory is that it gives people an out. When you speak truth, you don't give people an opportunity to squirm. That's just what it is. All right, Rev T, give all your information out, man, to everybody that's watching and listening. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm the CEO of Empower Media LLC, and that's spelled differently. It's a play on words. MPWR Media LLC. 1.com is my website. That's MPWR Media LLC 1.com is my website, and you can find all our information on there. We also do an empowering moment show. We've been blessed to have Brother Epton on a number of times on our panel. So thank you so much for you being a part of the empowering moments in the Empower Room, and we meet every other Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook.
Rachel, go. First lady.
1ST Lady of Sports. So that's going to be on Instagram and what's the other one? Twitter. Yeah. So I need to get better with doing that. But that's going to be 1ST Lady of Sports. And you can always get at me too at Rachel L. Hill on my Facebook. So I still want some Facebook friends. So you can get at me all three ways.
Coach DJ Davis.
Yes, sir. Keep it real simple. Coach DJ Davis. You can find me on Facebook. You can also find me on Instagram. The best way to find me is if you hashtag 100 yards to go. You hashtag that, you'll find me even if you're on another planet. 100 yards to go.
All right, round it out, John. Go ahead. You
Team up,
marketing consultant. On another planet.
I just wanted Brian Lowe and Perry Bowler III, they do an outstanding job, and just blessed to be able to be a part of their great organization and where they're taking the athletes for the future.
Cool. Well, you guys can find me everywhere, in the internet, on the outer net, whatever the case may be. So that's been the 6th edition of Kick the Narrative right here on the BGC Sports Network. For the dopest engineer in the game, Big Dave, the esteemed panelists, Reverend Timothy Hughes, Rachel Hill, Coach DJ Davis, and Jay Mott. I'm Willie Epstein Jr. saying that y'all stay safe, y'all hug each other, y'all love each other, and we'll talk to y'all again real soon. Peace.
Hi, bruh.
Thank you.